Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I think we can get this week technically for we have Marty there in person, and we have we have 5 AC members. Hanoi, has anybody heard from her or anything like that? Okay, Layla, we emailed you the chair support script. If you would be interested in chairing tonight's meeting. Leilani.
Leilani, right?
Oh, Leilani? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, mahalo. I just got it.
There we go. Yes.
Mahalo, everybody, for your patience, because this will be a meaho for me.
Trial run. No worries.
Oh gosh, where did it go? I just lost it. 1 second.
I just want to start off by acknowledging our space tonight here in person. We were supposed to be in the main area of the Inside Cooper Center. There's a bit of miscommunication between the market and the county and down that chain of command. So they were helpful enough to put us into this this little space over here. I think it's working for us or for the public that's showing up tonight. Thank goodness, everybody. Most of our members are on Zoom. But I just want to acknowledge to the people here in person that, you know, bear with us. I apologize. Thank you.
We are shocked to see all the activity.
It is great to see all the community out there, though. This is a really cool thing that happens here. This is my first time. I would love for us to find a way to better kind of tap into this, but just saying that off the bat and then handing over to you, like,
Aloha kako.
Fine.
Oh, did somebody say something?
Probably.
Okay. Well, the Puna Action Committee meeting will now come to order. It is Thursday, June 6, 2024, and the time is 5:08 p.m. This meeting is held in person and by interactive conference technology. The meeting will also be recorded on Zoom. And as a reminder, per Sunshine Law, AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on and announce anyone who is with them, except for minors, in their location. So we'll begin with roll call. Committee member
Susie Osborne will start the roll call.
Okay.
And I am in my house. My sister is in another room. And my brother just moved back from Molokai, is in the basement. So I am alone in my room. Mahalo.
Hi, this is Jennifer. I am alone in my living room. I do have a 16-year-old son, but he's in his room.
Hi, this is Greg Henkel. I'm alone in my room.
Aloha, Leila ki aloha. I'm alone in my office, but my children are present. So please forgive me if I do need to step up and walk out. Mahalo.
And I am Leilani Di Mello, and my 15-year-old is in the house, but he's definitely not paying attention.
you could try to speak into the owl.
I'm Martha Morishige, here present.
I just have a quick question. Are you guys hearing them cutting out, or is it just me? Okay. Thank you.
What happened?
I see other people present. Do I need to have them introduce themselves or no? No, Kalamai. Okay, sorry. We have quorum to hold this meeting. We do have an absence. There's Franny Brewer. And then we have county staff, planning department staff. Do I have to read all their names?
Hi, Mariam. Community Planning Section Supervisor, and then we also have today Cavello, Khalili with us, but she just stepped out, but she'll be right back in.
And I think Kanoi's absent also, yeah?
Yes, sorry, Kanoi is absent, and if that's everyone, please make sure your cell phones are turned off or on silent mode as we conduct this meeting. If there's anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the sign up form and give it to our staff if you're there in person. For Zoom testifiers, send a message in the chat to the host indicating which item you wish to testify on, and we ask that everyone please state your name before speaking. To all of us who are attending here to all of the people attending there in person, please remember to speak towards the OWL camera phone or microphone so everyone on the Zoom can hear you clearly. And we'll move to, I'd like to introduce the meeting minutes to be approved. The time is now 5:12 p.m. The committee will now consider approving the draft minutes from the February 1st, 2024 meeting. May I ask for a motion to approve the February 1st, 2024 meeting minutes as circulated?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mahalo. It has been moved by,
No.
oh, sorry.
Okay, this is copy of the motion. Can you people who did the motion? And who seconded?
Susie made the motion, second by Leila.
Mahalo.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
So we have to ask if there's any discussion first.
Oh, sorry. Is there any discussion?
No. Sorry.
No, mahalo. Koko mai, mahalo. Okay, no discussion. All in favor if we are ready? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't see any. Motion carries. And then now we go into the public testimony on agenda items.
We need to approve the agenda.
Oh, sorry. Oh, where did I skip a piece? Okay, well,
I don't think we've ever approved the agenda. The agenda goes out couple weeks ago, right?
yeah, it went out. Or do we normally ask if there's any changes? Additions? Is there any
No.
additions to the agenda? Or is that allowed?
Don't think you're allowed to put addition.
Okay, I don't think so. Sorry, guys. Thank you for your patience. Now we move into public testimony on the agenda items. So the time is now 5:14 p.m. The committee will now call for statements from the public. As stated in the published agenda, members of the public may provide comment. May provide public testimony regarding any agenda item now or at the time of the agenda item is called to order. If there's anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the signed up form on the front of the table over there and give it to our staff. For those in person, do we have any?
Yes, we have two. Would you like to testify now or at the agenda item?
Whatever's best for you.
Probably at the agenda item.
That's fine.
They would like to testify at the agenda item.
Do we have any Zoom testifiers that would like to testify now or at the agenda item?
Are we gonna discuss, item 1 on the agenda, which is the Puna brochure permitted interaction group?
No Zoom testifiers.
Yeah, motions.
Well, the question was whether we're gonna, the question on the agenda says, do we decide to have an interaction group to investigate the existing Puna brochure?
I don't think we got to the agenda item yet, did we?
No, we were waiting to see if any of the Zoom people wanted to testify, and I didn't hear anything. I'm not sure if the host got anything from the Zoom people.
No Zoom testifiers.
Okay, mahalo. So for the business of today, it's 5:17 p.m. Committee will now move on to the business item number 1, the Puna brochure permitted interaction group. Decision making on whether to create a permitted interaction group to investigate the existing Puna brochure. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on this item who has not already done so? If yes, allow 3 minutes per person. If no, public testimony for this item. Oh, sorry. If yes, anybody.
No testimony.
Can a member speak to it? As far as what I have read, and this is,
I'm sorry, I think, don't we have to open it up for a motion and open it up for discussion first? Is that? how-
Yeah. Does anyone wish to make a motion on this item?
I make a motion, we accept the brochure as is. I think it's thorough.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now you guys can open it up for discussion.
Well, it's printed upside down.
Did you guys get the brochure in an email? Because I don't see the brochure attached to our what do you call it? Our
Yeah.
agenda.
We did.
It's in the packet.
In the packet.
I personally would like to see some work done on this. This was done a long time ago. I think it needs an update. I would like to make a motion to have establish a permitted action group or a permitted, a pig for this brochure.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We had a motion on the floor to approve it as is. We're discussing that. We don't have to make another motion on top of that motion.
You're correct. Sorry about that. How do I proceed if somebody can help me?
So then it would be then that maybe more of a discussion point, saying, Susie saying that, that you guys, that she feels that there should be changes made to the brochure, ergo the permitted interaction group should be made. There can be an amendment to, Marty's motion to reflect that.
I wish Fran were here, you know, this is, it'd be so great to have her input on this item. Why did this come forward? Does who brought this forward that, since we're having a discussion about it? How did it come forward to have a look again at this? Does anybody know?
It was at our last action committee meeting.
Oh,
I believe Randy brought it up. Yeah.
Franny brought it up.
Do we wanna, save this agenda item for when she's in attendance?
Well, I think starting a peg would be beneficial, or like, what do you call it? To revisit what's been done. Especially with the different things that are happening now in Puna.
What we can do is we can create a page, if there's 2 members that want to be a part of that, we can create it, and when Franny joins, if she's interested in being a part of that, then we can add her to it. Yeah, so. One option.
So are you asking for how are we addressing the motion still on the floor? This is just discussion and seeing if there's 2 people interested at a minimum?
Yeah, we're just discussing, and depending how the discussion goes, we can then go and make a formal amendment to Marty's motion.
Or I could withdraw the motion.
Or if she could withdraw the motion and make it.
I withdraw the motion if there are members that have the time and the skill, knowledge to address this. This is quite a complicated, scientific information here. I would not feel able to contribute to that effort.
Well, Leila, would you jump on with me? Can we work with Franny on this? See if, because Franny put it forward and it really is a lot of, the flora and fauna stuff. Or is there anybody else that would?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely jump on this. We started this like this has been in the works for over 10 years.
Yeah,
About
so
10
there's
years.
two of us, and if there's anybody else that wants to jump on, that would be great.
I'd be interested. I do have a biology background. I was confused by what the purpose of the agenda item was, like to investigate, I guess was the confusing word for me, investigate the Puna brochure. But if
Well,
we're talking about updating it and making it more relevant today, that makes sense to me. I think just that word investigate was like, eh?
That's just the standard terminology for being able to have a committee outside of sunshine law, that you have to have that structure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd be willing to be part of this. As someone who lives in a new build home that lot was cleared pin to pin, so.
So now that that has been withdrawn, how do we proceed? Sorry. Or
Then
it was a conditional withdrawal, but it seems that we have the people that are willing to join the
So
pig.
transfer motion, and then somebody can propose a new motion.
So I make a motion that we established a permitted interaction group for the discussion, review, and revision of the Puna brochure.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Mahalo.
Okay, now we need to clarify the goal and the members that are going to be on that page.
Okay, so we're gonna the permitted interaction group is going to revisit the brochure, the Puna brochure, to see if there's any updates that need to be made, any changes. And those who are going to be on that permitted interaction group is Susie Osborne, Layla, Kealoha, Kalamai, Jennifer Sheffel. And then
And can
Yeah.
we open it up to Fran also? How does that happen?
How do they include Franny if she's not here?
I think we're gonna have to include Fanny at the next meeting,
okay.
but there's space for her if she wants to, take 3 to 4 members.
Okay. And are we able to move forward on the next item?
We would have to vote. We still haven't done
Oh,
the
sorry.
call.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
It's only being recorded. Does anyone wish to make a motion on this item?
So
We
we did the motion in the
did
second.
the motion. Sorry, can we get a
We got
vote?
a second. Now we got to call the vote.
Okay.
I see it doesn't have the voting part in there, I'm sorry. Cheat sheet.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I don't see anybody opposing. Thank you. Okay. Has business item number 2 been canceled?
Item 2 is up.
No.
She said item 2 has been canceled.
No, we have.
No, I'm asking.
No, they're here, our presenters are here.
Okay. The time is now 5:26 PM and the committee will now move on to business item number 2. Update by Orchid Land Neighbors Representative.
Yeah, so we don't mind opening the floor to the representatives and you can kind of give us your. I believe this was brought forward by Marty. Just to kind of, I don't know, we'll see what's
To let you
happening
know
and
what-
see if there's any action that the committee wants to take, to work on, after hearing this, yeah, okay.
My name is Jenny, Virginia, it's Jenny. Hayes.
They signed up. to
I was
testify, their
co-author of the Puna Community Development Plan with Bonnie Goodell way back when. And I visited all of the community groups that were available at that time. I wanted, before I just give this quick testimony, I wanted to inform the committee and thank Marty for bringing us here. And to tell you that the build out for the Puna district with its 25 or so subdivisions, you may know this, Susie, but not everybody does, is 3 people per lot. That's the average. So we're looking at,
Can you speak into the,
we're looking at perhaps 400, 350,000 people at build out with every lot filled. We could not really get that across to people back when. Now that 130 is so crowded and we have as much congestion and as many new houses going in as we do, people are beginning to see that build out is a real possibility. Now, when the Puna subdivisions were created, Orchid Land Estates map did not show anything except 42 miles of roads. These roads, they've struggled ever since to maintain these roads and have been unable to create a meeting place or a playground for the residents. This is Orchid Land Community Association. A 2015 survey supported the need for an open market, a meeting hall, a commercial kitchen, a walking path, a dog park, various recreational activities, a soccer field, and those things were ignored pretty much by the county and by the individual subdivisions because they had no funding for them. We attempted, Orchid Land Neighbors, a private nonprofit, was created to help meet the need for community infrastructure. And after asking for the use of Orchid Land Community Association's lot, purchased its own 4-acre site and presented a site plan for a multi-purpose community complex, which includes space for emergency storage, as well as social and recreational facilities and a community kitchen. Orchid Land Neighbors has a vision for this multi-purpose complex and has obtained a special permit from the county of Hawaii to construct it. We are in the process of selecting an architect and various contractors to prepare plans to fence the site and go on with construction. We believe that this complex fulfills the mission of the Puna Community Development Plan to create a town center complex, which will decrease the traffic on the major roadway and will provide a business and social incubator for Orchid Land Estates and surrounding communities. I might add that our food bank that we operate now serves about 320 families. It's over 1,000 people. Our site is a secondary staging area for search for emergency services and is located in Lava Zone 3. We will continue to serve the community with our food basket and our volunteer network for emergency and public safety. We'll be even more capable and able to expand our community network when the multi-purpose complex is built. We ask you to support our project and to specifically include this in the CDP. Thank you for your attention.
I'm sorry, it sounds like there's a bunch of background noise or music or something, and that person Mongo now is off, but they were the only person unmuted, so I don't know if it's on where that's coming from.
Outside, they have a concert going and a
Oh.
market.
Okay,
It's a crowded space. Cooper Center has always been multitasking. Thursday's their main day.
Yeah, so in case you didn't know, so you know, the Cooper Center on Thursdays has a lively market, farmers market, well, all kind market. So yes, they will be ending at 6 is my understanding, so the noise and the lovely live music should be kind of calming down by then. So, okay, yes, you were also gonna share? Yes. Okay. Okay, okay, because you guys are doing one like testimony.
Isn't that what you?
This is
what you want? 3-minute testimony?
Yeah, okay, so I think, we agendize them as a business item to present, you know, their project and their ask for support. But I think what we do is we'll take your, we'll also have the other representatives speak. But, and I think the committee, because the rest of our meeting is also going to be essentially on the same lines of what are the priority items that you guys are gonna be working on this year. So I think what we can do is we can take this as kind of a description of one route that you guys could take. We'll listen to the presentation, and so we don't need to make necessarily, unless the committee wants to, we don't need to have any decision making after these presentations. And then, once we kind of hear planning department's also presentation, all the different pieces, then when it's time to discuss what your guys' strategy will be for priority items this year, then we can kind of bring in all these different pieces into that discussion. I think that's, unless you guys have a different way you want to approach it, I think that might be the best way. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but please go ahead with your explanation of.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm here to endorse Orchid Land Neighbors. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I will. My name is Jessie Molina, and I've been a resident of Orchid Land Estates community since 1985. Back then, driving over a very rocky road to get to my makeshift cottage with no utilities was very challenging. I had to attach a 12-foot volt extension cord to my car battery every night for one 12-volt light bulb for 1 hour, or else I'd have a dead battery in my Mad Max car. Showered with cold rainwater scooped from a barrel for showering. My first roof was constructed with blue tarps covered with rafters. On very rainy days, the roof developed large water pockets on my blue tarps that needed to be emptied by hand as soon as possible. So that was 39 years ago, and pioneering was raw with challenges. I survived and prevailed. Today in 2024, we are faced with different challenges in our Puna community: traffic, waiting in traffic, economic hardships, isolation, lack of community recreation, and ohana gatherings. This is why I support and endorse the Orchid Land Neighbors organization. Since 2017, in collaboration with the Food Basket and 2 churches, on the last Wednesday of each month, food is given to 360 families. Orchid Land Neighbors also support the Orchid Land Neighborhood Watch and the Orchid Land Community Emergency Response Team. On December 1st, 2022, Orchid Land Neighbors received a special permit from the Hawaii County Windward Planning Commission to proceed with the monumental task of developing a multi-purpose community complex on a 4-acre property in Orchid Land Estates. This 6,000 square foot multi-purpose building will house a certified kitchen facility, a place for families, organizations, and businesses to facilitate meetings, weddings, and special occasions. In addition, a soccer field, an open market to encourage businesses and agriculture support, a food basket distribution site, as well as an emergency supply storage facility. So with this complex, there's so much that we can offer our community, and not just Orchid Land Estates, but all of Puna communities, that they can come and enjoy this facility. So will our community needs be met? And will this encourage family and friends to gather more often? I'd say it's a first start in the right direction. And I encourage this committee to incorporate Orchid Land Neighbors' vision and mission in developing this facility for the community of all of Puna. Our common goal is to see Puna thrive and propel forward with more hope for its future. So Puna will survive and prevail, and this will be all worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a Zoom testifier. This is just for agenda 2 and 3. Which action item? 2 and 3. Orchid Land and then representation.
Well, we already passed, we're already on 2, so.
We didn't ask for it.
That's really they consider that. Please make sure they don't want to make any action.
I don't think we asked for public testimony for agenda item 2. Just went straight.
Okay, does the committee wanna,
Are there any questions? Is there anybody who wants to ask?
any fact-finding questions?
Leila has a question.
I do, I just want to be clear. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to be clear in the ask of what you folks are asking from us. Are you asking for our support to seek funding for this complex? Is it a village town center? Like, what is the specific ask you're asking of the action committee?
Lila, the most current map, anything I could find for Orchid Land shows a village center, just an outline with nothing. And it doesn't extend all the way down to 36. It doesn't even include the Orchid Land Community Association lot. We are kitty cornered from that. So all I'm asking is that you support our project in the PCDP, perhaps make a node to that map with an extension with those two. I mean, certainly the community association lot should be included, but our 4-acre complex should be included too. In other words, it's already part of a village center, which was never envisioned that far from the road. And all of the businesses were located almost on Highway 130 because they did not run the water line. They would only run it up to where it is, to the gas station. That's it. Well, we can ask the county for the water line. That'd be super, to run the water line up to 36 or beyond to 40. That would be super. I mean, that would be absolutely unheard of if they would do some infrastructure like that. That's necessary. No, we can run our community center with catchment. That's on our plan. It was approved. We can do it that way.
Commercial kitchen, which requires water. You have to have a special holding tank.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that all, we went all through it with Christian K at the plan.
But it's not unheard of because HBP does have water line to their
That
fire
is correct.
station. So it is precedent is set already for that.
Thank you, Karen, thank you. So yes, all right, add that to the ask, then wouldn't it be nice if we could have a water line that went up there? And also the recognition of the project as being in Love Zone 3 and as satisfying the requests in the survey from residents in 2015.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I mean, that is in our community development plan, is to create these village town centers, correct? And I think what would be helpful for us as a committee is if you had like a letter of support that we could read, that you'd like us to support you folks with.
Okay. I'll get it for you. Not right this minute, but I'll write that. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, no,
rewrite
I mean, I think that would be helpful, and then you could bring it back to our next meeting, and we could see if it fits, and then we can vote on it then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bella, thank you.
We helped, support us. It helped others, helps us.
Susie, you have a question?
Well, yeah, a quick comment and a question, because, yeah, mahalo, Leila, because I think that's all we can do, but I think, the first part of the ask of revising the CDP to include that, I don't really know what that process is, but I think a letter for a particular thing, like a water line, like really clearly specific ask would be appropriate.
I didn't know how to put this either, except to just ask for your support. Thank you for that suggestion. Can I make a comment? It's kind of a question. If I recall, when I went through the CDP, the projected recreation development does not include anything in Orchidland Estates, nothing. It does include Paradise Park having something quite nice, or at least starting a park. And yet Orchidland, with the traffic and left turns and all the, the population warrants a park on that side of the highway and in Lava Zone 3. I'm just shocked that the CDP did not include it anywhere in their plans. I believe that at the time, Orchidland really was totally immersed in roads and did not come to the table. I did 30 community presentations. I did Hawaiian Acres, I did Ainaloa, I did, several dozen others. I do not recall being in Orchidland. However, there was no place to meet in Orchidland, because then there wasn't even Blaine's, which was a sort of a meeting place for a while. I don't believe there ever was. I was the person, I did that community liaison work to see what the communities wanted. And that was, Orchidland did not really come to the table like that.
Okay, how,
Well, I just want another comment. Yes, we have a park at Shipment in KL, but that's still a 3-mile distance. And we have a lot of young families in Orchidland Estates, and they need to be able to, have children playing and playgrounds and look at this wonderful Cooper Center. This could be a second Cooper Center in Puna.
mahalo everyone for sharing. Is there anybody on Zoom that would also like to testify or add mana'o?
So I believe we had one individual on Zoom with patiently waiting.
Stephanie Bath.
Hi Stephanie, are you still there?
That's my favorite.
Or did you log out?
No, she's still on.
Hi Stephanie. Can you hear us?
Okay, I was having trouble unmuting. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, aloha. First, I'd like to testify on two things, but right now I'd like to testify on the item 2, I believe, the Orchidland neighbors thing. Before I say what I have to say, is I do support it, but I do, as part of my testimony now, I want to respond to how come this was not in the PCDP. Let's put this into perspective. We were having the discussion about the Puna Community Development Plan that you folks are tasked with assisting and implementing back in, it was adopted in 2008. So we were working on it before then. COVID hadn't happened. We did not have the gridlock on the roads. We had it, but it was a different world in Puna. And so things have changed very rapidly. And unfortunately, the implementation process has been less than what the people that spent so many hours and just had hoped for. So I support this organization. and what their goals are. I've been following them. I actually testified at the Planning Commission on behalf of them. I do not believe that you can have Ginny write a letter and amend the CDP. You would have to have a public hearing to do that. And so, as nice as that letter is, everybody will come out of the woodworks and say, I'm going to include this in the CDP. I want to include this. So I don't believe that that's a go, as much as you might like to do that. I may be wrong, but that was adopted by ordinance, and it was amended once in a rather discouraging way, with only one public hearing and little input from the community. And it changed the document, but it wouldn't have changed this. So I just to end it, I really support this, but I think that the concept that that Jenny and the folks are doing is excellent. And I believe that it's aligned with the CDP, particularly during this time. But I don't think that the AC has the power to amend our document. That's what I have to say about that. Shall I wait for the implementation and Zendo's request until after, or shall I testify on that now?
You can wait till the agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
And we're not gonna make a motion on this, are we? That was just informational, so we can move forward on the agenda. My understanding.
Is there any possibility, I know she just said that I could take a public hearing, but this is a big deal. And I know the next item is about the CDP, and we were going to discuss how our committee is a part of the CDP. What do we do? What is the implementation procedure?
Yeah, and so I guess maybe if the committee is ready, that I kind of cover that in our PowerPoint. I kind of take us from the bones, from the bottom, and I kind of bring us up to where we are today, and how the AC, because the AC kind of has that flexibility to decide their strategy. So that's if the committee's ready to move to the next item, that's something we could do. Or if they want to put a motion on the table for this item, that I'll leave it up to the AC's discussion.
I make a motion that we definitely discuss Orchid Land Neighbors and the project, and what power we have to make a difference to make this come to fruition. So we wanted to be a big item for our Puna community development. This is what we're all about.
I think I have to say that we're gonna move on to the next item, or
No, I made a motion.
Is there a second? I guess it would be, if there's a second, then we can open it up, and if not, then we would continue.
sorry, it was cutting out. I couldn't hear too good.
If there's a second, then we would, then we could go into Marty's discussion, but if there's no second, then we can move forward.
Can you repeat the motion, please?
I make a motion that our committee pursue with the planning department that there will be this project brought forward even to the county council so that we can make changes to the CDP in behalf of Puna. Takes a second. It's just asking that we, keep working on this project.
Can I just, well, I just want to make a comment. So what I shared earlier is that she bring back a letter that's sharing what they ask, like what they need support with. And I know that you're talking about wanting to have this be a part of that village town center setting because it abuts that. But I think because amending the PCDP does take a lot of work. I mean, our whole PCDP needs to be revised. It's 2008. It's 16 years old. And that's a big task that we need to take on. But I think in the interim, that if the Orchid Land neighbors want to put together a letter asking the PCDP Action Committee to support their project, that is doable in a shorter time frame, but not to amend the CDP right now. That's just my comment to that. Thank you.
Clarify the motion. I don't think the motion was saying we amend the CDP. I believe my motion was asking this committee to continue to support this project, which is a cluster village recreation center. So we have to do our different, whatever it takes to, investigate the water line and everything that but it's all about just getting it started.
Personally, I'd like to hear the county presentation and consider, we have a lot of full considerations moving forward.
Do we not have a second for the motion? If not, we can move to agenda item number 3.
Can I withdraw the motion and maybe say that we discuss this project, this Orchid Land Neighbors and Recreation Area at the next meeting? Do we have a second? Well, I withdraw the first motion to ask the committee and make a new motion that we discuss this project again at the next meeting. And Jenny and the committee for that project will present maybe an outline more specific to the needs.
So we just want to add it to the next agenda, correct? For our next meeting. I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And if there's nothing further, we can move on to agenda item number 3. The time is now 5:54 p.m.
Need to vote on that.
We need to
Sorry.
vote.
Oh, sorry. And okay. Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Aye.
All abstain. Sorry, how many people was that? I think
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of us. Jennifer, did you aye? So there was 4 ayes.
2 abstentions.
Yep. So the
Okay,
motion carries.
so the motion carries. And now we can move to agenda item number 3.
Yes, that ended nicely. That ended nicely. Thank you.
I'm sorry, are you saying something?
I said that ended nicely. That was good. That's good.
Okay, we'll now move on to the overview of the CDP Action Committee purpose and Puna CDP implementation priorities. Presentation by Planning Department staff on the background and roles of the CDP Action Committee. Discussion to establish which implementation projects the committee will pursue based off findings in the Puna CDP document.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Just give us a moment for us to get this set up for you guys.
Last time.
I'm gonna have to drag it into this.
Sorry, give me a second, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, while she gets that set up, I just wanna, little foundation to this, so. I would say collectively, all the ACs over the past few years have had a bit of a rough ride. So we got hit with COVID, and then we had severe, staffing issues within the planning department. And really the county as a whole. Those two things combined, a lot of the ACs kind of went into a bit of dormancy or kind of went on their own and did their own thing for a while. Over the past year, I mean, there was a point in time where we had no staff to support any of the ACs. And so over the past year, planning has been working pretty diligently to kind of bring our staff on board, kind of, catch up to speed. On top of not having staff, though, I would like to say another symptom of this is that we lost a lot of the historical knowledge that the previous planners had. And they kind of essentially took with them that historical knowledge, those networks. So this CDP, this community planning section, we're kind of starting brand new, right? I've only been in the job for a little over a year now. I wasn't in the planning commission side before this, regulatory based. And the rest of the team are, they just starting. Some are even still on probation. That's how green we are. I want to lay that down.
Obviously, I can't even get this presentation on here, so very, very green.
So with that, what we're doing now that we've kind of got staff on board, now we're onboarding staff and we're kind of coming back. AC's actually got nearly a good chunk of new members last year also. So we have a lot of new members, we have a lot of older members. We also have a lot of vacancies. So with that, what we've decided to prioritize is kind of having a bit of a refresher, a bit of reorientation for these action committees. So we've been doing similar presentations across all of the ACs, and every AC has their own personality. Every AC has been thinking their own strategies and their own focuses. But we're really working hard to to get everybody back up to speed, get everybody focused on working towards some specific goals, so that we kind of have something tangible to show in the near future.
Hey, Mike, could you get closer to the owl, please?
I will. I'm actually gonna go back to where I was then. Can you guys see the PowerPoint on your side?
Yes, and the audio's better.
Okay. It also helped that it looks like they're taking a break out there.
Is it very,
It's almost 6 o'clock, so. Alrighty, so I guess. Without further ado, I'll just get started. Maybe that was enough history. Okay, so. Puna Community Development Plan, Action Committee Refresher, and Implementation Guide. Can you have it? Oh, is that I just using this as a pointer. I'm not to see that now. But I would have to plug. Do you have a USB port? Oh my God.
It's okay. We're not that fancy yet.
Yeah. Okay, so something at our last chair and vice chair meeting that was brought up is a request for a bit of a more visual understanding of where the Puna Action Committee lies in our society, in the community, right? So we came up with this lovely diagram. It looks complicated. It's a very simplified form though, at the same time. That little disclaimer. So we're gonna walk you through it. Cabela's gonna bring up the next link and hopefully, please feel free to pause me, to stop, ask questions at any time during this presentation. I'm gonna try to over-explain, but please, if anything comes up, let us know. But kind of cover, get everybody on the same understanding of planning and our action committees. Okay, so here's our lovely diagram. We can go right into it. So we have our action committees. So under the planning department, we have 6 Six action committees, each action committee rooted in a community development plan document. The only district within our island that does not have is Hilo. Hilo has a CDP, but it's not a CDP that was adopted by ordinance and therefore has an action committee to represent them, right? Also, their latest CDP is in the 80s, okay? So now these other districts, so we have Puna, North Kohala, South Kohala, I believe they, and Puna all kind of had their CDPs developed around that 2008 era. After that came Hamakua around 2015. And then more recently, I believe 2018-ish, Ka'u got their CDP, right? So the county's been actively working, have somebody but at the same time come up with a plan to update these documents. But going back to staffing challenges and all of these things, it's a lot of work. So, but basically, here we are, all six action committees, and then we can go next. They live within the planning department. The planning department lives within the county of Hawaii. And then, as we just basically know, right, then we have state above, and then we have the federal government above that. Now, if we look specifically at the planning department, we have the planning commission. This is actually called planning division, but it's a little easier to remember the planning commission. So that's a regulatory division. This is your SMAs, your special, anything that the planning commission present to take a vote. Then we have our admin permits. This is your subdivisions, consolidations, plan approvals, all those kinds of things. Admin services. This is our HR, this is our mapping services, our GIS, things of that nature, payroll even. And then some of you guys are more familiar with is the recovery division. So this temporary division sprouted out of the Kilauea recovery a few years back. And with that recovery, they cover, right, they have that buyout program and other things, but a notable thing for our purposes here is that the recovery division also is where the RCAs live. These are these resilient capacity areas. And these groups kind of, we'll talk about it more later in the presentation, but many of our committee members are familiar or even involved in that process. And then within planning part, the other division is the long range division. That is, the long range division is where we live. So long range holds community planning, infrastructure and design, natural and cultural resources, and then we have management, of course. Okay, and I'm just going to go through those very quickly. So we can look at management. Management, they oversee primarily, well, they oversee all of our day-to-day things and all of our projects, but they also primarily look at the Board of Appeals. They manage those. They're in charge of the general plan. You guys are familiar with the climate action plan that was last year, I believe. That's kind of where those plans live. Next, we have natural and cultural resources. So this is where public access lives. This is where the setback riparian project lives. This is where the Cultural Resource Commission lives. This is another volunteer advisory group that meets that is under the planning department's umbrella. Next, we have infrastructure and design. So this is your Transit Orient Development Council, the TOD Council, that's the state council. We hold a seat there and get a vote. We have they work primarily with also different projects around the island, transit related. So take Pahoa and Kona transit hubs, take the Kona open space network plan. So this is a plan to have open space network in the Kona urban area. So that's a project that they're working on right now. Now, next section, we have our section, the community planning section. Majority, our main priority here is the CDP programs at the moment. Okay, so that's all of our CDP documents. That would include the updates to those CDP documents. That would also include managing these actions and administering these action committees. And that a version of that would also look at the action committee annual action plans. Essentially what we're trying to figure out here today. And then if you look at the action committees, we have all of these action committees. And now if we look specifically at Puna CDP, the Puna CDP action committee, and really at this level, all the action committees, they relate to so many different agencies, and the work they do isn't just restricted to the county, isn't just restricted to nonprofits. They can branch out in any way that they feel motivated to do so, right? Chapter 16, which kind of establishes this program, was written in a very open manner to see how the different action committees would be able to navigate this process. So, and a lot of that depends on our current standing members. What's the best way? So if we look at the NGO, so these are non-governmental organizations. These are just examples. This is purely just, you know, just to kind of get you guys brainstorming. So we have Neighborhood Place in Puna. We have community associations, neighborhood associations. We have BIS. You can do partnerships. You can do support letters, all these kind of different ways. Then we have private agencies. So maybe you want to work with them. Maybe you want to, Boy Telecom, Helco, healthcare providers, KS. Then we have, when you look at the federal level, like you guys could be writing letters to Congress. You guys could be working somehow with FEMA, National Parks, NOAA. There's a lot of different ways, whether it's providing comment, whether, you know, it's working together on a project. If we look at the state level, we have DLNR, DOE, DOT, Water Commission. We could be providing comment to Water Commission. I want to say more recently, Water Commission had a hearing that sometimes I just like to go in and watch, and there was nobody, you know, providing testimony to them wanting to either increase capacity or something to, well, here in Puna. I mean, and nobody gave, and so it's just like, these are the things that the Action Committee, Public Utilities Commissions is another example. And then of course we have the county, right? You can write letters to the planning department director, asking him to move to make action or inaction in certain ways. We can reach out to the different other departments, housing, parks and rec, public works. And also it's important to not forget about our county council. So your representative is also can be a great tool to tap into. Yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of where we are. And then if we zoom all the way back, this is what we're looking at again. Any questions at this point?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we gonna do community private nonprofits?
Yes, that would be an example of working on neighbors, right? And I've had other action committees that community groups come and they say, oh, we're writing a grant, we would love a support letter. And so the action committee will draft a, you know, and planning will help support and submit that letter to it. It can be something simple like that. It can be something more intense, you know, it's kind of, yeah. Anybody on Zoom, any members, questions? Comments? Okay. Yes.
Oh, how do they let the public know when the water commission is needed?
Yeah, I believe they all have the same kind of public hearing announcements. I don't know if there's a subscription that you have to get on, or they kind of monitor their websites. That's
Maybe in the newspapers.
probably definitely in the newspapers.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can look at you.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to email us.
Yeah.
I just want to say quickly, mahalo nui for that graphic. That made me happy on so many levels. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're glad you like it. We're gonna send out the link so you guys can access it at any time. It's nice to just, you know, flip through. That was definitely Cabello. She did all that hard learning this new software and how to do it. We're just scraping the surface here, you guys. We're getting there. She did an awesome job. Okay, we can go back to is this the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, so now let's ground ourselves here. What is our purpose? What are we doing? So, purpose of the CDP Action Committee: to be a proactive, community-based steward of the implementation and updating of the CDP, providing ongoing input and advocacy to advance implementation of the CDP goals, objectives, policies, and actions.
Could I write that down?
Sure, sure. I mean,
Steward
this is
of
part,
the implementation.
we will also send out these slides to your email if you're interested. So keep that in mind. Also recorded, will be on YouTube.
Well, I like the fact that it says updating the CDP.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I thought that somewhat we just went through, it sounded like it was a
Well,
torturous
I mean, it would be,
process.
yeah, you would, and updating, like, to clarify, the process, as mentioned earlier, is an intense process. It's not technically, yes, that's something we can do, we can be a part of here. But that is a lengthy thing, and the CDP is ordinance, so it would go to council, it would go, so it planning commission and all of those entities would be a part of that process. So we have to be pretty mindful before we engage in that process. Yes, okay. Yes,
You mentioned chapter 16.
chapter
And
6.
also, where does this language come from? Is that in ordinance?
This, is this verbatim? I have chapters, I'm not too sure, there's a quick-
the original PCDP, no.
No, but it might come from chapter 16, and if not, it is some sort of,
chapter 16 of the county charter?
yes, yes. Okay, now, talk about the different roles, of those involved in the action committee. So, first on the list is, of course, we have our action committee members. So your roles and your responsibilities here are to regularly attend our action committees at meetings. We understand sometimes we cannot do it. But that's kind of the goal. Develop priorities and a work plan to implement community actions in the CDPs. Develop partnerships with individuals, nonprofits, businesses, and community groups, associations to implement CDP policies and actions. Transmit project updates and involvement opportunities regularly to their CDP region. Intentionally and explicitly engage all factions of their community with specific attention to those who are marginalized and underrepresented. Invest a minimum of 8 hours of work each month advancing the CDP implementation through priority projects and initiatives. Okay. It's not an easy job for community volunteers. And also there's a lot of leeway. We just really appreciate communication. When we ask for forum, when we ask for forums, we just really appreciate any kind of input that you guys give back to us. It's really helpful for staff. And it reflects back out into how our meetings go. AC chairs specifically, they are in charge of opening all meetings of the committee. They maintain order, clarity of process and action, and proper decorum. Reviews all matters properly brought before the committee. They call for votes upon the same and announce the results. And they are the ones that will authenticate by signature all acts of the committee as may be required as. So when I mentioned that the AC sends out letters sometimes to department heads, to organizations, usually that letter will be drafted. Planning will help with that. Planning will send it to chair for signature. Right, and also that letter is voted on by the committee. Right, chair signs it, and then planning helps send it. Okay, we can go. Now, other entities that are involved in the action committees, we have county staff here, right? So our job here is to support you, and we have the planning department and we have corporation counsel. Corporation counsel, if you're unaware with county structure, these are basically county lawyers, and each county board commission committee, they have been assigned a legal representative from corporations. Right, so let's look first at planning department. Planning department's role: administrative support, such as timely preparation and distribution of an agenda for each meeting to satisfy meeting notice requirements, meeting logistics, correspondence, annual reports, website publications, and preparation and official posting of meeting minutes. Planning department will liaison between the committee and governmental agencies in furtherance of the CDP goals and objectives, and facilitate the implementation of the CDP and serve as a planning resource to the committee and community. I would like to say, as a little bit of a background here, we kind of cover all of your sunshine requirements. That's kind of our goal. And our goal is to help you guys go through your CDP document and navigate that document, right? I'm going to say with a little star, asterisk, that our team is new. We are still learning the documents. We are still juggling 6 committees. And so we are not, I'm going to be so frank, we're not so at the level where I want to say that we're experts on your document and the expert resource. We're at this moment, we're holding hands together and we're kind of going through it together and seeing what are the best outcomes that we have. Now, if we look at Corporation Counsel, they are your legal advisor representative to county boards and commissions. They provide guidance on sunshine law, Robert's rules, Robert's rule of order, and other legal matters. May assist with training of new AC members And Jean Campbell has been appointed to all action committees and is available to discuss CDP related issues via email and through the CDP staff. Jean Campbell may attend action committee meetings either in person or via Zoom, but her attendance is not mandatory. Another thing I'd like to include about Corporation Council, they definitely are the ones we want to go to in case we have any questions. In terms of sunshine, in terms of broader rules, but they also are a resource in case we want to propose new legislation. If we want to propose code amendments, they will help us draft those kind of documents. So that's another, score. And if we know that we have a heavy agenda item, a super contentious issue, we can reach out to her and she will, make sure that she comes to support us and best possible. Okay. We can go next. All right, now, the Corporation Council, Sunshine Law got brought up. So if you are unfamiliar, Sunshine Law is what is open meeting law. It governs the manner in which all state and county boards must conduct their business. I'm just basically gonna say, Sunshine Law is about transparency, government transparency. Oftentimes, when we're in this conversation of action committees, frequently, it's been my experience that Sunshine Law gets brought up as the big bad wolf. They're the ones to blame for why a lot of the committees can't get things done in a timely manner. Because Sunshine Law puts restrictions on how the AC members can work together. On the other side of that is acknowledging that the action committees are a county committee, right? You guys are a government entity to a degree. And although you are volunteers, although you are advisory, the potential of what could, come out of our committees needs to be upheld in the same ways as all the other, same as county council, right? So we're about transparency. What we want is to make sure that committee members aren't having backdoor conversations, backroom conversations. So if there's enough for quorum, then a conversation happening where there's enough members for quorum, it needs to be held in front of the public. We're hybrid now, so we have in-person and Zoom meetings. But also, let's see, it's to also make sure that when we post that we're having a meeting, that it's posted with enough notice. So the community can make space and time in their schedules to come. And also the agendas are written in such a way that the community knows what's being discussed and whether they want to come or not, right? So it's important. The caveat is that it requires staff, right? And so that's, I think, and it requires that manpower to post these agendas and all of those kinds of things. So it is difficult. It is definitely, it does slow things down, but it's not without purpose. And I guess it's just what I'm saying. And then there's got to be a way to get to that other side by also being accessible to the. We can go to Rob's room. And something else.
Could I ask a quick question? Since you said we could ask you to move the presentation.
Layla also has a question. Her hand is up.
Hello, go ahead, Layla.
Mine goes all the way back to slide number 1, sorry, or the PCDP goals and objectives, and it talks about us implementing and updating the PCDP. I just want to share that, that was a thing that we were talking about pre the 2018 eruption is updating our CDP, and that when the 2018 eruption occurred, it really took over our action committee, and our role as the action committee has changed at that point in time. And so, and then we went into COVID and all this stuff, and we staff and So I just want to share that, even though that is the goal and the objective, or what was shared, that is where the action committee has been. So sorry, it goes back to that last slide. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
And my question is, I know several years ago it was mandatory that any commission member go through the county corporate council provided sunshine law training, which I know several of us did. And I'm wondering if that still occurs and is available for our new members.
Absolutely. I actually just met with Corporation Council yesterday to discuss this. So I brought up to her that that we would like to start providing sunshine and Robert's rules training to our members. And so coming up with a regular schedule, but also considering, you know, where we are right now, maybe to see who's interested and who wants to be a part of these and how we can do these and in terms of sunshine. So if that's something that's being requested of the committee, we can definitely take that back and see when is the soonest possible time that we can get that training out to you guys.
Thank you. It was very good training and very worthwhile. And I'd just like to make one other comment, and it's a general reminder for the general public regarding general conversation in our meeting. I think that it's only occurs during their testimony time. Thank you.
That is true. That is true.
As a new member, the planning department had myself and all members that are new members that I think in the last 6 months, we came to a meeting to learn about sunshine law.
Yes, we did do a couple of orientation because we had so many new members coming, we did orientation sessions. Because now we are all members and you guys took that oath after that or around that time, now we'll have to find a way to either probably just bring Jean in to one of our public meetings or, you know, see another way. But yeah, maybe we can do a joint AC meeting because we have members across the island that would probably be interested.
My understanding, there was a county lawyer in attendance, or maybe it was soon, I can't remember. You know, but we had a lawyer giving us advice at that meeting.
It was Susanna.
Oh,
About the
yes,
pigs.
probably Susanna, yes. Yeah, Jean is recently assigned to,
Okay.
she has experience from before, but
Okay,
yes, she is your newly appointed.
I see.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so along with sunshine, hand in hand comes Robert's Rule of Order. We follow a modified version of Robert's Rule of Order, and this protocol is intended to be a guide for conducting meetings and making decisions at a group. These rules help to define how committee conducts committee business and also helps the committee members understand the appropriate way to participate in a cooperative manner. One of the major wins of us utilizing Robert's rules is that it helps us stay on track. It helps us not go off on too many tangents as so easily as with our community meetings, but to actually go start our agenda and follow it all the way through. It's really important that that's kind of our chair kind of helps us facilitate that during the meeting, with support, of course. But the idea of it is basically, by incorporating sunshine as the testimony part, but by having bringing forth an agenda item, allowing public testimony at that time so that people can share, then a motion is put forward on the agenda item. And if that motion is seconded, then the committee comes into discussion, right? If, say that agenda item like today, for example, we have this PowerPoint from planning. During my presentation or during whenever a person comes to speak, then there's this fact finding portion, right? So this is where you guys, like now, we're asking questions, ask and answer, but it's not necessarily a discussion about the actual agenda item. So once my presentation is done, once fact finding is complete, that motion is open and seconded, and then that discussion occurs. All throughout that time, it is the goal to not have interruptions from the committee. So that would look, so that would be public testimony is taken before. Frequently, what happens is that we have a presentation and the public wants to hear what the presentation is before providing testimony. That only makes sense. So something that to allow and to facilitate for that, but still be within sunshine and still be within Robert's rules would be to open up public testimony at the beginning, have the presentation, and then open up public testimony again, and then close public testimony again, and then allow the committee to go through the deliberations. A lot of times there's a way around and there's a way to do it with the rules. It's just, you gotta learn the rules. It's hard when it comes to these volunteer advisory groups because so many members of the public come here, and this is essentially another language they have to learn, right? It's like, okay, guys, now we're gonna conduct this meeting in German, and okay, yeah, good luck, right? So it's another language, and so one, we have patience and understanding, but also the committee members, we'll learn that in time and we'll get that flow. And it's up to the committee, the chair and the members to also help us uphold that, right? So I really appreciate when you guys come and chime in. You guys especially have a lot of experience. Other committees are a lot more newer and greener, so it's a little different. Yeah, that's the different personalities, but I really appreciate how you guys tend to actually self-regulate a lot, so that's kind of great. But I guess, okay, now let's talk about your Puna Community Development Plan document. It's not that huge. It is a little old. But there's still a lot in here that the committee could be working. All right, so we're gonna, this is what you guys live off of. This is what created you. This is what you guys are here to help implement. Also frequently referenced as PCDP. Puna CDP. Okay, so general purposes of the CDPs as a whole. To guide county actions, to guide the policy and actions of state and federal agencies, and focus and guide community action. This is kind of where our favorite spot is to live. Puna CDP specifically has three major themes: Malama Ikaina, growth management, and transportation. Now, there's a lot in here. It can be a little daunting to understand it, but basically you see those same three themes. These are the first, after your introduction, these are the next three chapters. And each one of these themes is broken down into a smaller category. So we have historic, cultural, science resources, all of these different subjects. And then within those subjects, goals, objectives, and action items are listed, recommendations. And chapter 5 kind of gives a more in-depth understanding of how to implement some of these. And it also includes your implementation too, right? So this kind of breaks them down, gives a summarized version of everything that is kind of spoken about in the document. Lives on page 81 to 87. Okay? And I'll mention your partners and a timetable. If you look at the timetable, it's a little, but you just kind of, 2008 to 2012, you just say that's about a 4-year project. Kind of it checks out.
Compensation section, that's still, that isn't black and white, that's to be added on to, right?
Now, yes and no, right? So let's give some extreme examples, right? So this document is pretty broad and vague in and of itself. But let's say you want to bring an item in that isn't discussed at all in here. Like because it's so broad and vague, it covers a lot. And so for an item to not be able to like provide rationale within this document for that item, kind of means that maybe let's focus on these things. So with that mindset kind of, let's focus on these first before bringing on it. I think the most silly metaphor or example that gets brought up is, I believe there was a moment for interest for action committees to be promoting, what was it? Cannabis dispensaries. Okay, so that's not listed within the CDP. And there are other priority items that we could pick from instead of.
But that was done in 2012. This development plan. 2008.
2008.
Oh, 2000, okay, I heard you say it was updated a little bit. I mean, some of these aren't even relevant anymore.
Absolutely.
So, you look at the four, and only one out of those 4 implementations are relevant.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. But and then at the same time, there's still a lot that haven't been done. Also. So yes, an update for Puna CDP. I'm gonna be so honest with you. An update for a community development plan would require funding. We would require consultants. To get that money would require either council to open up the budget and create that line item for us, or for us to find those funds elsewhere. So while an update, we could use an update, yes, I agree. But there are items in here that we could probably start tackling through and gain our momentum and build our networks with, and kind of get that traction in order to prepare ourselves for when we're ready for that update. That's kind of just bit of my own perspective.
But what if we hear from the community, some things that have never been addressed yet? Because this is 2024.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the population has increased 50,000.
Yeah, yeah, and if we can find, and if the committee wants to, provide actions on them, we can, if they're rooted in in this document. But ideally today or soon, here we'll hear examples of how we could do things, and eventually the committee will decide on a strategy. And then from that, usually that in itself will bring its own momentum, and specific community members interested in those specific items will kind of come to push those forward. And other things might come up at the same time, but that doesn't mean that we can't hear those out. Maybe it's a quick one, maybe it's a support letter, maybe it's something else, or that priorities can't shift. That's always, it, you know, an ebb and flows.
Well, is it, now, obvious to the county council, to the mayor, that this is so old that we must have funding to have a new plan?
I would give an example of Hilo CDP, of Hilo. Hilo's been asking for their own, or a new, CDP document, and that administration firm hasn't kind of pushed that forward yet, as far as I'm aware of it. So, that's just kind of a data point, so.
So should I, contact the council member in my district to bring it forward at the council?
That is an option there. Now, you would do that as an individual in that way. To do that as a collective AC, that isn't something that you guys would have to vote.
Sure.
Okay, should we move on?
Yes, let's move forward. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, okay, yes. So I guess just to clarify kind of what my goal here is today with you all, is to not only pick areas that were, or action items that we're interested in focusing on, but also how we're going to do that, right? So something that's unique to Puna is that Puna also has these, well, that'll come later. Okay, actually, so that's kind of something to keep in the back of your mind, right? We're trying to figure out what are the priorities, hence that Google form that I sent out. Thank you so much, all of you that did respond to that. That was very helpful. I do believe we have, Ms. Patty Pinto online. Patty, we created this slide for you to kind of just give a little bit of your manao on. Patty is a previous Puna CDP Action Committee member, and she just wanted to kind of give a little background on the projects that they started and where they landed. Just another piece, just like Orchid Land Neighbors coming, another piece for you guys to consider in terms of your implementation priorities. How to go ahead.
In the old CDP Action Committee, we had champions of special projects, and we all worked on projects. We would bring reports of our projects to every meeting. The biggest project that I worked with was road connectivity between the subdivisions and the highways, and that started in 2012 and is ongoing. It was an exhaustive bit of work, and it was done by this action committee, two people from this committee, and then members of the community. We were able to work with a larger group of people and other county agencies such as civil defense. We brought forward, after a lot of community action plans, we met with different community associations. We took it to council. The council accepted the plan. Then they advised to do a plan. We did that. Then it went to the new Harry Kim administration, where it stalled for 4 years with a mayor's study. Then after that, the plan still exists. It's just lying on somebody's desk somewhere. To date, not a single point of connectivity has been implemented. There were 49 points of connectivity brought out. Since that time, boards of the community associations have changed. There are different attitudes in the various subdivisions about where they would like to have or whether they would like to have connectivity. One of the biggest objectors at that time was Seaview. Now they're not so objecting. Other points could go forward. We got very close with implementing a point of connectivity between Puhala at the top of Fern Acres over to South Gopul Road, which would have given an extra point of exit for 4 subdivisions who now only have one road in and out. An EA was done. County did engineering. It has stalled. The interesting point is that most of these points of connectivity are cheap, easy to do, don't require very much, don't require the county to acquire property, just a willingness to do the job. We worked on a number of projects. I think Layla's nonprofit organization, Hakapeli Maka, was started as a Red Road Kapono, an effort to get that section of Red Road declared a scenic byway, which succeeded. There was work to try and bring restrooms to Ahala Nui. People worked on parks. There's a park now in Mountain View. Before Mountain View had no park. But it was the work, and there are a lot of things that this committee can do. We worked on the Pahoa Village Master Plan, and that was an ongoing work from 2012 to the point where the work that this committee had done had got to the point where the planning department was hiring a consultant to draft the plan. Then the 2014 eruption occurred, and we pulled back from that very quickly. After that was a very disheartening experience for people trying to do something to plan growth in Pahoa. We got back to work, and we were actually had a signed contract, which we had to withdraw from when the 2018 eruption occurred. So now the RCAs are starting to look at the environment and built environment. RCA is looking at, we're calling it Turnaround Pahoa. But one of the things that was accomplished by this subcommittee of the PCDP was design guidelines for Pahoa were adopted by ordinance. And we work with the designers of Puna Kai Shopping Center, and that is why they look as nice as they do. There's tremendous opportunities to do the building in Pahoa, we changed that. Volcano had the building in Volcano brochure, which was about, it's very little change. When we took it over for us, we changed it to building in Puna because so many of the values about Malalama Ika Aino were so essentially brought up and covered in that brochure. So that was work of this committee. And you know, when you find something you want to do, you just go back to the implementation thing and you find the thing that's closest to it, and that's what you're doing. This implementation document is vague enough that we can continue to work and to serve the needs of the communities where we live and the people who bring things to us for implementation. I think that's it. Mariam?
Thank you. All right, so. Yeah, okay, so on to the next slide. So Patty also, we mentioned the RCAs, and Patty also mentioned them, so part of the eruption and the start of the recovery division was also this project called Revitalize Puna. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. But with that, they also create these resilience capacity areas. And these are buoys that would meet in these different categories. They have been going for the past, I believe, 3 or so years. And a few of our AC members sit on these RCAs. And I wanted to not forget about them because their program is coming to a close this year. And they've done a lot, and they've done a lot of great stuff. They have a great, and Zoe's been doing a great job of, posting everything on Instagram, all the social medias, kind of showing the things that they've been doing. Now, I think it's important to keep in mind what they've been doing, and if there's projects that are sitting on the table, projects that got started, to kind of keep them in mind and see if this is something that the AC, how we can fold in what they've started, what they're working on, and bring it into our environment, what we can, right? These RCAs didn't right under sunshine, so they had a lot more flexibility. They had grant funding, so they actually were able to do some stuff with some money. So it's pretty great. We were hoping for Zoe to come speak, and I think she will, but this at a next meeting. But she's currently on the continent, so she's in she's at a conference for the week, so she's off island. But
Their last meeting was the 13th of July.
the next one,
The last.
the last meeting for the RCAs, I'll take it. Yes, so the last meeting for the RCAs will be July 13th. Zoe is working, extra hard to work on closing up that program. When I spoke with her, a couple of the items that she brought up that the RCAs kind of.
Layla is raising her hand.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, can we I want to clarify this because our RCAs are not ending in July. So there's a specific RPIC grant that was given for Zoe's position to help with Revitalize Puna events. The RCAs are run through the Kilroy Recovery program. And Revitalize Puna is one of those ways of getting the information out to the community. So we are not stopping in July. And we are meeting to see how the RCAs are going to continue moving forward after the RPIC grant is done. So I just want to make it clear, because this is a public meeting, that we're not saying the RCAs are going away, because they're not. And there is four of us on the action committee that serve on these RCAs. So I just want to make sure that's clear, that the public is being told the correct information.
Really appreciate that clarification.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
So Zoe helps with the Revitalize Puna events and helping to manage the agenda and the meetings that we have as RCAs. But just because that grant is ending doesn't, we're discussing how we're going to move forward as RCAs.
Great.
Thank you.
That's way better. Okay.
Thank you.
So my misunderstanding of how it was kind of presented to me. Okay, that's great. Okay, so that changes things. So maybe at that point it's to see how we would work, if we would work, collaboratively with the RCAs.
We've absolutely discussed that at our meetings, how this commission can integrate with the RCAs and the projects of the RCAs.
Okay. Would recovery division be doing any sort of facilitation or any of that looking forward beyond this summer?
That's a challenge. That's a challenge of this moment, because they won't be funded. And so how do we continue this work? It's, we're in that discussion stage.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Recovery Division is committed to this process. But we don't have, for instance, social is also facilitated by Keiko from housing. So the connection with all of these RCAs with a member of the county staff that we hope we can still keep in the process.
So then maybe it would be something that the committee would consider then is how, depending on the focus areas that you guys decide on, you know, when you're thinking about strategies and to consider where the RCAs and those partnerships would, where would they rely on those strategies? That's great. A few things that Zoe brought up of projects that the AC might be interested in working on would be that the Pahoa Village Master Plan. What was explained to me is that there is a dated version out there. It was the goal of to have an updated master plan for Pahoa Village, but there have been hurdles. But many of the topics, or some main topics that they were looking at addressing within that master plan are maybe things that the action committee could work on addressing, or trying to plan for, and those were things like wastewater in Pahoa Town. Also discussion of safety and security. I believe Pahoa had a safety summit recent at some point. And so those are kind of items that were brought forward. They've also been doing beautification projects across the world now. Basically painting, and whatnot. And so those are just kind of some projects just to get some brainstorming juices going. That the RCAs were working on. And I would love to open it up to members that are sitting on current RCAs. If there's any projects that you all want to propose at this moment that you guys have been working on and that you think might be something that the AC might be interested in incorporating or considering.
So is Zoe gonna come back for the next meeting and give the other members that are not sitting on our committees? I think it's Layla, Leilani and I. Who's the fourth Layla? That's a co-chair.
Franny's the
Oh,
natural.
Fran, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So 4 of us. But for the other members, it would be nice to have Zoe give us a presentation about each of the RCAs and the current projects.
Zeri is currently at that conference with the RPIC grant in the East Coast, talking about what we've done. So yeah, next time we meet, she will be back.
You have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, right on. Okay, so I've been given my 10-minute warning. I don't think, to be so real, I don't think we're going to be able to totally discuss and fully deliberate which action items we want to prioritize, but I just want to get through this presentation. All that's left is kind of going through you guys' Google form with you all responses. And then this is just something I guess I think it's important that the ACE members could kind of take back, digest, do a little bit further research, reach out to us with further questions, concerns, comments. And maybe this can get re-agendized and you guys can kind of make a vote on and that's those strategies. But I'll just kind of try to wrap up this presentation pretty quick so you guys can kind of respect everybody's time and get everything.
Get community comments.
Yes, after everyone finishes the presentations. Yeah, okay. So
Can I just make a note that I did submit a form today, but I'm really not, I really need more time to digest it and hear about things. I kind of like to retract my Google responses.
yeah, no, and this is just a starting point. We just kind of wanted to, get it going, and I'm assuming we're going to send out another Google form, a more revamped one, based, kind of a little bit more catered to after what today's discussion. To see if what's changed and where we're standing at. Go ahead, Lee.
Go ahead, Leila.
I'm sorry. I couldn't find my thing. So the item priorities would be from the PCDP, correct?
Yes, please.
And then I'd like to where is the Google form response? Is it
Um,
am I missing stuff?
oh, did you not get, we sent out an email, several, a while ago, with a Google form. We sent it out a few times asking you guys to fill it out. But that's okay, we can just go through this and then we'll send out another one, so please keep an eye out. But yeah,
Leila, if you could send me your email in the chat, because I know you didn't get the Puna brochure, so we might have the wrong email.
and actually that was part of the Google form to update your contact. So,
Catch 22.
okay, so that's kind of what, so basically in the Google form, we, as part of it, we asked a number of questions, but one of the main questions were, we asked you to look at your CDP document. And give us your first priority, your second priority, and your third priority action items, right? And so we'll just kind of go through that now. This is just, we'll reuse these acronyms there.
Are you tabulated?
We put them all together. So here's everybody's first priority response that did. Okay, so some people didn't give an specific action item, but they gave a theme or a section, a section theme that they were interested in the action committee pursuing, which is fine. I would say that we definitely had across the three main themes of the CDP, it was pretty even. When you look at the first, second, and third priorities. So here, I'll just kind of read over these pretty quickly. Oh, I believe that person is kind of
I double checked it.
Huh? What? So that is. So if we look at 213B, so that is actually to initiate special design districts. Number one. So it's still under the same section, but those special design districts: Volcano Village, Pahoa Town, Kea'au Town, Curtis Town, Montague Corridor. So there's 4 specific areas that are highlighted by the CDP. We also have enact a BRBZ design district for the volcano area. A BRBZ is a Biosphere Reserve Buffer Zone. This is kind of, and if we look specifically, to enact a BRBZ separately or as an overlay district for the greater volcano area, and to include the following provisions and other supporting measures, and it lists a good amount of measures and procedures. We look, a request for managing growth and parks and recreation was mentioned. Also transportation roadway networks was mentioned. And more specifically on the roadway networks was plan and design of PMAR alignment, that conversation, which the setbacks and that PMAR conversation essentially. If we look at the second priority responses, we had again mentioning of the BRBZ. So this is
Create connectivity locations did you read that one? Is it the bottom, the one?
yes, I'll go.
Okay, I don't know why you just skipped that.
So the first one of BRBZ, this is looking at code amendments. So this would be example zoning, grading and grubbing, those kind of amendments to kind of go to protect native species. Also social services and housing was mentioned, establish a one-stop social services assistance centers at various locations. Managing growth, energy sustainability, with the specific item of negotiate a direct use of geothermal agreement for agriculture uses as part of any expansion of the capacity of the Puna geothermal venture. And then another vote for transportation and roadway network with not the specific action, but with that distinguished the section as a whole. And then a third, we have reduce the minimum lot size to qualify for native forest preservation tax reduction and allow it in any zoning district. We also have another vote for social services and housing, but not a specific action item specified. And then 2 more for transportation. One under traffic demand management to facilitate telecommuting by developing a free Wi-Fi reception or by developing free Wi-Fi reception in Puna. This is actually pretty, there's a lot of movement in terms of broadband being kind of distributed around that. There's a lot of police kind of working on this. That's to be something. And also transportation mass transit, but no specific item specified. So I kind of ran through this kind of quickly. We're coming close on time. When you guys after this meeting are looking at this, we'll send you these PowerPoints. We'll send you these for another Google Form ones. But before filling out the form, to really look back at the CDP document to consider what was mentioned today by potential partners, and also to consider. Another item would be to consider what are the priorities, even within government right now, just to be realistic in terms, and what are the most tangible items that we could get through. I think the ACs as a whole kind of just all coming back online now. It's a bit of a slow start to kind of get some of these things going. So to come off the bat and choose multiple 10-year kind of projects might not be the best strategy for us. Maybe it's to have a bigger project and maybe a couple smaller ones. I think it also might be helpful and even motivational for the committee and the community to see little tangible things that the AC has done on top of in the background working on these bigger projects. Another thing to consider is how you guys would want to go about this. We have AC members or ACs that decided that each individual member is so motivated to do their own projects. And so they are basically going off and doing these projects on their own to help also abide by sunshine. And then they're coming back and providing these updates to the meetings. But also other ACs are interested in a more collaborative approach. Some created permitted interaction groups, right? So that's groups of 3 to 4, so that they can work out within sunshine outside of the meeting and work as a little hui to kind of push some of these items through. And then they'll bring their report to the committee and explain to the committee what they did, what they found, and what they propose and suggest. And then the committee at the next meeting would vote and make a decision based off of that report. Another item is we just have 2 members, and those 2 members can go off and do that within sunshine and kind of work on these things and still provide those views. There's so many ways that the AC members as themselves could work, and also how they choose to tap in to the different resources and tools available to them. How they want to work with planning or the other departments and agencies, whether they want to look and get funding for some of these projects. That, do we want to bring in contracts through government, through planning? Do we want to partner and have another agency sponsor us or help and collaborate and help them grant? There's so many options. It's actually a little debilitating sometimes. But I think when you're thinking about these action items, it's not only what interests you the most and what are you so motivated for, but also what is the most practical way to go about these things and understand the reality of the certain things. I'm not saying to not bug the county, bug different agencies because they're so busy or understaffed or whatever it is. I'm just saying we need to be a little bit more strategic in how we push for different things. I don't know, just a little.
I appreciate that you took the time to ask what our first and second, third priorities were. And then maybe can we discuss it at a meeting and find out, or from various members, what is their priority?
Yeah, any other comments?
Maybe that could be an agenda item for next time to really understand some of the priorities that members have. Help me.
I agree. I think we should put it on the agenda for the next meeting. make sure we first of all submit our Google form response. And then and making sure that all of our action committee members do it, because it looks like there was only 4 responses. If I'm correct, there was only 4 things that were up there.
We
Is it-
had 5.
It's
One
6.
individual only proposed 1 item.
Okay.
But-
Like if we could just commit to doing the Google form response, if we haven't done it already, and then we can discuss it at our next meeting.
Could I request that, what's her name, Zoe's presentation happen before this discussion on the next agenda item? Because the RCA work is really significant and so many of us are involved. I would hate to have that be an after the fact with regards to this. I mean, we're really taking our time with RCAs to figure out, you know, manageable, doable projects that can be supported here also.
I think that's a great point. Well, planning will be sure to reach out to Zoe and see what she says, check her availability.
If not, Ashley will do it.
In just a minute. I just want to give a suggestion for our next agenda, agenda and for our next meeting as well. If we can have an update from our House rep and our senator about their priorities they put in for legislature this year, that's specific to Puna, because they are our representatives, and we should know what they're planning to support us with. If do you folks need, can you folks reach out to them, or should we reach out to them?
We can send them a.
Gregor and Joy, please. Thank you.
That's a great point.
Are there any other items that we would like to agendize for the next meeting?
Could you list again what has been suggested for next meeting?
We're gonna open public testimony for item number 3 before. I'm sorry, we did not, reopen public testimony for after the presentation, and we have a request for that. If we could do that real quick before.
Okay.
Chair, are you okay with that?
Yes, is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on the presentation that has just taken place?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, aloha. I'm very glad that this meeting was recorded. I have like 3 or 4 or 5 questions of clarification that we're not going to have time to do, but there are some concerns that I have as a public member. For your information, for those who don't know, I was on the PCDP steering committee, and I was lead over transportation. So I do have a kind of some know on this. As far as my testimony, since we're limited on time, I think that it's critical that this committee do 2 things. One is to focus on the health and safety of the community and identify actions that need to be taken to ensure that, because we can have everything, but if we're not safe and if we're not healthy, all deals are off. The second thing is, as Patty so eloquently shared, we have a project right now, which is the connectivity locations. It's got funding. The community during the CDP process wanted it. They agreed to it with civil defense and the help of a group. We had 2 Puna Regional Emergency Prep Bears. I was the lead in the mapping room on that. For those of you who went, we had a mapping room where the public weighed in where the connectivity locations were. Marlene Hapai and Patty crunched that data, and then we had another fair and a mapping room, and we returned the data to the public of the proposed routes. And then the public chimed in on why they would or wouldn't work. So the public has already given their input. We already have the data to support it. Connectivity locations need to move forward. So that's the number one thing that I think that this action committee should take action on. There was so much going on. I am very concerned that the Puna The people of Puna do not have a voice. You folks are volunteers, and we were denied our voice through you because the public is not funded. We didn't have basic funds through planning so that we could move forward with our plan. We were cut off, our voices were shut off. And that's not okay. That cannot happen. And I think that should be an agenda item for the next meeting so that we can move forward on actions. There are actions that are beautiful that can move forward right now. We don't need another CDP revision because everything will get lost. It'll take years to get them going. So I really want to emphasize action. Finally, oh, we watched the county during the Leilani event. We watched the county create a road, that emergency access road. And what did it take them, a week? Surely we can do the connectivity locations. I was in a meeting with Mayor Roth, and he said that he sort of sees the connectivity locations as dominoes. And he has one that he may be able to implement this year. And he said, once that's done, the rest can fall in place. Now, when I've played dominoes, all of the dominoes have to be lined up before you hit them and they fall in place. So I would encourage this committee to encourage the planning department, public works, to go ahead and get their acts together and connect the dots and purchase these connectivity locations, because we're having build out. And if we don't acquire them soon, they're going to be built out and we're going to lose our options for the prime places. I've been working with this since before 2008, and it's like a baby to me. And I feel as though the people specifically of Upper Puna have been minimized, and because of the lava flow, and many of the people in Lower Puna have moved up to Upper Puna, and that's where we need the connectivity. The PMAR is a whole nother thing. So I really thank you for your efforts, and this is a very, very important thing. We need those connectivity locations as a number one priority by this committee. Number one, because we have the funding and it's doable. Mahalo for your time.
I have to interrupt. Somebody outside says there's a car parked blocking somebody else. It's an Audi. Like, it's an Audi. Like, looks like a Porsche possibly. Yeah, they're blocking somebody who wants to leave.
Okay, are we wrapping up now?
Yeah. Yeah. You're just supposed to make some. I don't know where you're blocking some. Who didn't block them?
Is that all the testimony we have here?
We're just waiting.
We have one more testifier in person.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. And the next person?
Hannah Hedrick. From Fern Forest, attended every meeting of the PCDPC steering committee and hundreds of work group meetings. I want to thank you for focusing on implementation. I do want to share that I agree with Stephanie that the PCDP, that implementation thing is not outdated. You may want to add additional things. It's not outdated. The values and principles and many of the action items are still relevant. And in addition, except for Stephanie, no one's going to be aware that someone referenced that how general the PCDP is. You're not understanding that every single recommendation in there, there were 5 or 6 work groups, including transportation and land use and so forth. The work group documents are as thick as the PCDP, and the rationales are very specific, and they're just fun to read. And I still have 2 of the originals if you're interested. I have some requests, and one is that the charge to develop priorities and a work plan to implement community actions. I'm asking you to encourage the department heads listed in the implementation chart, especially Public Works and Parks and Rec, to fill their identified roles in implementing actions that have been long ignored. I'm requesting information from the planning department
your charge is to facilitate, or you indicated the implementation of priorities. I'm asking you, could you present a summary of what the planning department has done to implement any of the 2008 priorities, specifically those related, as both Patty and staff have indicated, to Upper Puna Road connectivity? I was very disappointed that 4.3.3 (A) road connectivity and subdivision somehow I didn't think got read out, and it was up on that chart, and I'd like to have you all focus on that area. I want to point out that in the past, we have had obstacles to road connectivity, and I'm going to say one of them has been Corp Council provided obstacles throughout the PCDP, throughout the 2 years of meetings of the Mayor's Committee on Upper Road connectivity. And I'm happy to see that someone named Jean Campbell is now involved in that. I'm hoping Corp Council will find ways to facilitate that. I'm requesting that among your priorities in relationship to 4.3.3 (A) that you focus on. The mayor says there's one and they'll fall like dominoes. I disagree with that 100,000%. I would like to request that you at least put on your agenda the easiest road for connectivity, because the road exists, it's been open and people drove on it, is between Fern Forest and Eden Rock at the end of California. And then in the PCDP, it called for linear parks, that's 6 or 7 of these connectivity locations, to have fire trucks and those kinds of stuff. I'm going to be moving forward with the request through Matt and anyone else I can find to do a model project at California, between Eden Rock and Fern Forest, for a community gathering place, resilience hub, whatever, a physical structure, so we can have a whole resilience hub, not just for Eden Rock and Fern Forest, for farm lots, Fern Acres, and so forth. Toward now Upper Puna Road connectivity, I want you to know we have an Upper Puna emergency response with Mayor and his team. We now have a very active neighborhood watch in Fern Forest, and we're going to be hosting, Patty, I think you and Steph will be happy to hear this. We're going to be hosting a number of emergency evacuation mapping exercises based on the 2013 and 2014 Puna the prep fairs. And I'm happy to announce that at the the Civil Defense Emergency Preparedness meeting last Saturday, where I was able to talk with both Patty and Steph, most of the agencies represented there are very enthusiastic about supporting something similar in Upper Puna, the volcano area, and Ka'u. It could be either a Cooper Center or it can be at the hospital in Ka'u. So as we do these mapping exercises, hopefully outside Fern Forest, we can also do them in these areas to build toward that civil defense emergency response and preparedness project in the next 9 to 12 months. They're having a fair in Kona, but we would also like to have them there. And Talmadge actually agreed twice when I spoke to him last Saturday that civil defense would support this. So I'm saying we're working with civil defense and the bigger picture. And if that all falls apart and you guys never mention connectivity again or anything else, we will be meeting at the local level. We will find people who can open those roads for us if we have to have an evacuation response. So thank you for listening to my tirade. And please revisit 4.33, because someone already identified on your action committee Puna Road as one of the #1 priorities, the 8 priorities. So I don't want to have to get on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Is that all we have for this evening as far as people testifying on that item?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay. We kind of started with the agendizing items, but do we have to, is there any motion that needs to occur at this time? Okay. So for those who have anything else to add to the next agenda, if nothing further than what was already stated, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Okay. But if anybody does have anything they would like to add, please email the CDP team at cdp@hawaiicounty.gov. And or if you have any questions for Corp Counsel, it's jean.campbell@hawaiicounty.gov. That's for anybody who has questions for Corp Counsel. I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Okay. Do I have to make a motion to end? No, that's it. It's now 7:16 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time this evening and for all the work that you're doing.
Mahalo, Leilani. Good job.
Good job, yep. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you very much.
evening. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.